Hello, everyone. Welcome along to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we are looking ahead to Irish Derby weekend from the Curragh. Royal Ascot seems like a distant memory, but it was a fantastic week. Had some good results on the podcast as well. And we move on to the majority of the action we're going to be previewing from the Curragh across 2 days. We'll have 2 races on Sunday and the main 3 on Saturday. We've also got 3 of the UK races, including the easy to solve Northumberland Plate, because we like to make it tough for the guys that join me. Adele Mulrennan. Adele, how are you? Do you enjoy Royal Ascot?
I did. It was a long week, but I did really enjoy it. I learned a lot.
It was excellent stuff. Enjoyed your coverage from the pre-parade ring very much indeed. Rixie, how are you? You took it to the bookies on day 1 of Royal Ascot. How did you fare subsequently?
Yeah, it was a good week. Yeah, I was finished strong and started strong. In the middle then was a little bit frustrating, but no, it was a good week. Yeah, really enjoyable. Just a shame we couldn't be there. Well, I couldn't be there somewhere, but yeah, no, it was a good week. Enjoy it. Look, that's one of the best weeks of the year. It's a shame about the rain maybe for the last couple of days, but no, it was still very good.
And Donn, you're going to be on duty for Irish Derby weekend at the Curragh, where hopefully it's not going to rain. I don't think it is.
Yeah, they've had a little bit, all right, Tom. So no, look, it's a hell of a weekend ahead. The Saturday is, it's a great day, and a couple of Royal Ascot horses running actually. So yeah, be interested to see how they go.
Couple making the 10-day backup. Let's give you the details of the offer before we get stuck into the racing proper and the previews. Well, we will start with the Irish Derby. The offer is 0% commission on all sports for 30 days. That is new customers only to Matchbook, 0% commission on all sports for 30 days. And of course, that encompasses the Euros as well, the ongoing Euros, and any other sport. It's for new customers only. You must use the bonus code INSIGHTS for your 0% commission. And that means you're more than likely to get best odds. You are likely to anyway, given the nature of the exchange, but with that 0% commission, most likely be getting best odds for yourselves there. Right, let's move into the race previews then. And we are going to start with the Irish Derby itself, 3:45. And we get to see high definition in a classic. 2.88 currently. Mojo Star second at Epsom is 6.0. Hurricane Lane is 6.5. Max Swinney, did he stay? 9.0. Lone Eagle 9.0. And then we're into the double figures. Donn, going to start with you if you don't mind. Who do you fancy in the Irish Derby and why?
And why? Yeah. Look, high definition is favourite, and that's right, I think, because he was favourite for the Epsom Derby before he was ruled out. He was winter favourite after he won the Beresford Stakes. He's got stamina in abundance. I thought he shaped pretty well in the Dante for a horse who was making his seasonal debut and a horse who you'd expect to come on for it. He's got 2 lengths to find with Hurricane Lane on that run. But I suppose the fact that you can expect that he will improve from then, and the fact that he's at the Curragh, the fact that he bypassed Epsom to come on to the Curragh, it's probably a positive. He comes here fresher than the horses obviously who ran in the Epsom Derby. So I think he's the right favourite. But I do think Hurricane Lane is a player against him. I think he probably should be a bit closer to him in the betting than he is. Like I thought he was very good in the Dante, shaped like a horse would be better over a 1.5 miles. And his run at Epsom was good. I didn't think he handled the hill very well. He didn't come down it too well and then came under pressure early in the home straight. And then reading subsequently that he lost 2 shoes in the process, that can't be a help, can it? You come home with two shoes, having left with 4. I think the Curragh will suit him. He's a good galloping horse. The 10.5 furlongs of the Dante, he was only just getting going at the end, and he stayed on. It was stamina that kicked in then. I thought he'd maybe run a wee bit better at Epsom. He maybe would have got closer to Adele, and obviously he was William Buick's selection in front of Adele. So I think there's plenty to like about Hurricane Lane. Lone Eagle's an interesting horse, although the ground, his big run in the Cocked Hat Stakes the last day was on soft ground, and his run at Newmarket at the end of last year was on soft ground. So maybe a drop of rain would help him. And McSweeney, I backed McSweeney in the Epsom Derby, and I was happy with him everywhere. I know he was a bit wider than ideal coming down the hill, and he came under a ride there. Kevin Manning had to use him up a little bit just to retain his position on the run around the crown of the bend, and he was right to do so. But after that, I just thought he'd stay on a wee bit better than he did. He showed such grit and determination to win the Irish 2000 Guineas, to beat Poetic Flair, who's obviously significantly enhanced the form again since. But I'm like you, Tom. I think maybe McSweeney, maybe 10 furlongs could be his optimum. Look, we'll find out on Saturday. But I think, yeah, maybe it might have been just that he didn't fully get to the end of 1.5 miles at Epsom. Whereas I think Hurricane Lane, the galloping track at the Curragh over 1.5 miles, I think that will suit him very well.
So if I had to, I completely echo those sentiments with Max Swinney. If I had to nail you down to a selection at the prices at the moment, it would be Hurricane Lane, would it?
Yeah, I think that whatever 6.5 or whatever, I think that's fair for him.
Yeah, Hurricane Lane is that 6.5 compared to the 2.88 high definition, who of course he finished ahead of in the Dante. Adele, you like the Godolphin horse as well. What do you want to add to Don's thoughts?
I do. I got to see them at York, and high definition, to be honest with you, I feel like I want to put a rocket up his bum. He's so laid back and he's big and half a bit clumsy looking, if you know what I mean, when he walks around the parade ring, compared to Hurricane Lane, who's like really athletic, and he's just got that kind of bit more of a presence about him. Like you can tell he knows his job well. His ears were always pricked as he was walking around the parade ring. He takes it all in. I like him as an individual, Hurricane Lane. I liked him for the Dante. He's got gears. He's got stamina. He clearly didn't handle the track at Epsom. And, you know, if anything, I think he did really well to finish third. I think his class and stamina come into play, and that's how he was able to finish third. You know, there was times when he lost numerous lengths, and as Donn said, I think the Curragh will suit him well. He's out of a 2 mile winning mare, so he's got stamina there as well. I think at the prices 6.5, I'm happy to take that all day long for Hurricane Lane.
Hurricane Lane, yes, 6.5, 2 shouts for him. Rixie, does the horse who finished second in the Derby at Epsom have the best form in the race?
He does for me, to be honest. Yeah, I think like I'm more than happy to take on high definition at the prices, because in my opinion, I think Hurricane Lane, Lone Eagle, McSweeney, Mojo Star, they all have better form in my opinion than high definition. But to be fair, I think high definition is probably open to the most improvements of all of those in the race. But I think the market has factored into that improvement already. You know, I think we all agree that he's open to improvement. But we often think horses are open to improvement, that they don't necessarily improve. I think this guy will, but whether he's going to improve as much as the market suggests, I'm not sure. So look, I'm happy to take him on. I think what Adele said about him there is correct. You know, he doesn't do anything quick, this horse, does he? And I think all the recent rain and the watering around the Curragh, what they've done, will definitely be a help to him. But good old Irish racing, living in the dark ages, we don't know how much watering they put on. You know, they could have been putting on 40 mils for all we know. You know, there was firm patches in the ground at the start of the week, and now it's just good ground supposedly. So, but anyway, getting off topic. Yeah, but look, I'm happy to take on high definition at the prices. At the prices, I think I'm actually going to back Mojo Star. Look, I know he's a maiden. He hasn't won a race yet. It's not ideal, but look, he's got a top class pedigree. They paid a small fortune for him as well. He's by Sea the Stars. I think he's a half brother to Portage, former Michael Halford group performer. He was a good horse, and you know, I just think the way he went through the Derby for a horse of such an experience really caught my eye. He just looked like a class act, and you know, he's a big horse. He for his size, he handled Epsom beautifully. So you know, the Curragh is obviously going to be no issue to him. Not that the Curragh is an issue for any horse, but yeah, look, it's a bit of a risk, but an unknown with him not winning a race. But I just think at the prices, he's definitely the bet. If it keeps raining there, because I think they've had more rain overnight. The other horse I think is the most overpriced is Lone Eagle as well. I just think he's crying out for a strongly run 12 furlongs. You know, but if it comes on soft ground, all the better. So if it keeps on raining there, I might add him to the list as well. Maybe have like a 1 point win play on Mojo Star and half a point win on Lone Eagle, that kind of thing. So I think those are the two horses that are most overpriced in the race, and they've got some of the best form. And yeah, I'm just more than happy to take on high definition.
And just to confirm, with Lone Eagle, it's currently good. Would you want some yielding or some softer B in the going description before? Yeah,
I think he's a good moving horse, and he's ran well on quick ground before, but soft ground just brings his stamina into play. Any horse that has maybe a little class edge over him or has that change of gear, that would be blunted by soft ground. So, and look, I think the race, we should talk about the race tactically. Ballydoyle run Matchless in here. He looks like he's going to pace make for High Definition. I reckon Wordsworth will probably go forward and maybe just sit on his girts and make it a good, honest gallop. And, to be fair, all the key players in the race, that's what they want. Unless Ballydoyle throw a bit of a curveball and make Van Gogh go forward or Wordsworth go forward and make it a crawl. But then, it looks like High Definition is the great white hope of the race, doesn't it? So I think if they want him to win and he's the horse with the sexy profile, it could be a future stallion. I think they're going to have to go a good gallop and bring his stamina into play, because if it turns into a sit and sprint race, High Definition won't win.
I agree. I think they've got a lot of runners, obviously, and I think they're going to want to ensure it's a test for the big hope, which is High Definition. I'm going to play it a similar way to you, and if the ground does ease, I would want to have Van Gogh on side, because it was drying ground last time in France and he just never really got into the race, and I just think he's worth a play on that pedigree over 1.5 miles, because I think ultimately that's what he wants. He's clearly a good horse for all he's yet to show it this year. And Colin Keane's back on him again. Hopefully he gets into the race a little bit easier over this trip than he did last time. So I have a little bit on him at 15.0, but main play is the Ammo Racing horse Mojo Star. He's got the best form and he's 6.0. And I think the Derby form is very strong. It's very good. A Day R, it ties in with some of the best 3-year-old form before the Derby, with William Haggis's horse, Alan Kerr, who went on to win at Royal Ascot. And I think Mojo Star should be a couple of points shorter. Equally, he's a Richard Hannon trained maiden over 1.5 miles in a classic, and that doesn't sound right. So maybe that's why he's the price he is. But on what we've seen on the racetrack, I don't think he should be that price. So I'm going to have those two on side. Irish Derby. Done. Just to reconfirm those selections for you, we've got 2 shouts for Hurricane Lane from Donn and Adele, Mojo Star for Rixie and myself, and also a Lone Eagle for Rixie and a Van Gogh for me, if the ground eases slightly. We move on to the Railway Stakes. This is the 305, and I'll give you prices for this. Ammo Racing represented in here as well. We've got Dr. Zemp at 3.5. Castle Star is just a little bigger, 3.75. Then Go Bears Go for David Loughnane, 5.5. Cadamosto 6.0, 10.0 for Duke Box. And then we're into the bigger double figure prices. Don, I'm going to come straight back to you. I'm personally sitting this one out. I couldn't find a bet here, so no need for me to waffle on. And I think Rixie's the same. So Don, who do you like?
I'll just waffle on instead of both of you then.
Please do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in terms of a bet, I'm not so sure, but it's a great race, this. I mean, it always is, the Railway Stakes. Castle Star, Fozzie Sachs horse, he would have been favourite for the Coventry Stakes if he'd run in it. I suppose he'd had a busy time. He'd run 4 times already before Royal Ascot, so Fozzie Sachs just decided to give him a bit of a break and leave him off and bring him back for the Railway Stakes. And in fairness to him, he didn't say he was definitely going for the Coventry. He said he was either going for the Coventry or the Railway. So that looks like a good plan. And he was very good in winning the Marble Hill. Chris Hayes rode him like a good horse. He quickened up well. And Masetto was he probably didn't have the run of the race. You couldn't have said that Masetto would have beaten him with a cleaner run, but he probably would have been a wee bit closer to him than he did, because Castle Star went up on the outside and Masetto had to kind of chart his way through. And Masetto then, I thought Masetto ran a big race in the Coventry Stakes last time, and he reopposes, so he's been busy. But he is a progressive horse, and he could be a player at a decent price in the Railway Stakes. But I think Castle Star, the way that he did it over the same course and distance, albeit on easier ground than the ground he's going to encounter on Saturday, but he has run well on good ground in the past, so I wouldn't be too worried about good ground as long as it's not fast, and I don't think it's going to be fast ground. So I think he should be favoured. Like Dr. Zemp was very good the last day. He was given a very good ride by Colin Keane, just allowed him into his race. He was an expensive yearling of Ger Lyons, but he was good in winning that race. And Elliptic, who finished second behind him, she went on and ran pretty well in the Albany Stakes at Royal Ascot, and he beat her well, and the two of them pulled nicely clear. So that was obviously his race course debut. He hasn't had as much experience as Castle Star. or as some of his other rivals. But again, he's an exciting horse. I just find it hard with 2-year-olds, Tom, to weigh up by how much they're going to improve. It's very hard to equate a Marble Hill winner who's looked good in winning the Marble Hill with a once raced maiden winner who should progress and could progress quite significantly, who's put the performance in over the course and distance as well. And then you've got the Royal Ascot form, Go Bears Go, and Catamosto coming on from the Norfolk Stakes. So, and Go Bears Go, I thought, did really well on the far side. Catamosto, maybe the step up and trip for Go Bears Go. I'm more worried about the step up and trip for him than for Catamosto. I thought he kind of kept on well, even though he won over 5 furlongs at Dundalk. I thought he stayed on well at the end of 5 furlongs at Ascot. So they were both on the far side. It was a bizarre race to Norfolk, wasn't it, with the 2 different sides and very little between the 2 of them. But I think Catamosto, of the 2 of them, he might progress past Go Bears Go over a slightly longer trip. And Pino Del Rio comes into it as well, Paddy Twomey's horse, who was good in winning last time at the Curragh. So it's a great race, the Railway Stakes. I'm not having a bet in it. I think Castle Star is probably the more likely winner, and I would probably have him as favourite in front of Dr. Zemf.
That's a statement that I would agree with, and I'm sort of following you in there with. I thought Castle Star would be clear favourite based on form. I understand that he's got a lot of experience and maybe some are expected to improve past him, but I thought he would head the betting. You mentioned there Catamosto and Go Bears Go and the Royal Ascot form. Adele, you are sticking with Go Bears Go.
Yeah, just to have a small bet at the place market. Considering he was over the far side on his own, I know he's got loads of speed, maybe the step up to 6, just hoping his stamina holds out. But just if he can repeat that performance, he's got loads of speed. I just thought he might be able to hold on at the dying stages. And, some of the horses in behind, he had some really nice horses in behind him. Project Dante, he's a really nice 2-year-old. He's definitely one to follow for the rest of the season. I presume he might head to York. As long as Royal Ascot hasn't taken too much out of him, he's quite a strong individual. I can't see why he wouldn't be able to handle the 6 furlongs. So just a small place bet with him, really.
Small bet with him. And Rixie, I know you wanted to ask about a price, 17.0 for Pinar Del Rio. Does that interest you?
Yeah, it does. I'm just kind of the stalls are going to be in the centre, and you don't know what way it's going to play out. But it's interesting. Dr. Zemth is drawn in 2, and a lot of the main kind of contenders are drawn a lot higher. I'm just wondering. He won. I think the race he won the last day, he was very, very impressive. I think it wasn't run overly the strong gallop, if I remember correctly. There's lots of pace on in here, and you just wonder if a horse stepping up from a maiden into a good quality Group 2 that's going to be strongly run. You just wonder, could he get out of his comfort zone? And I was just thinking maybe Pinar Del Rio would be of interest winning place, and maybe without Castle Star. I just thought it was interesting. They actually raced over the same course and distance the day Castle Star won the Marble Hill. The Marble Hill was it was much more strongly run than Pinar Del Rey's race. But I thought it was interesting. Pinar Del Rey, he came home. I think it was I made it about 0.3 of a second quicker than Castle Star. Look, Castle Star was on the bridle for a lot of that, but there are elements of the form that suggest that getting back on better ground, I think, could be a massive benefit to him as well. He's a son of Havana Gold, and he's a very good moving horse, and he's been running well and winning well on soft ground. So I'm just maybe interested in him at a price, maybe winning place and maybe win only without Castle Star, hoping that the Ger Lyons horse is drawn on the wing and he doesn't get a good toe into the race and the cards fall nicer for my horse. But in the long term, the Lyons horse probably going to turn out to be a better animal.
That's Pinar Del Rio, available at 17.0 for the Railway Stakes. Move on to the International. This is the 420. And price is currently, interesting at the top of the betting, you've got Cadillac on reappearance at 4.0. True Self, what a season she's had, is half a point bigger. Njord is 7.0. Thunder Kiss is 10.0. Then we're into the bigger prices. Rixie, I'll come straight back to you because I know you are keen to be against Cadillac. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's all price specific, but to me, last year, he looked like a real 2-year-old type. He looked really sharp. He's quite small. There's not much of him. So I'm just wondering if he's going to head up the market at a short price. He's probably going to make the market for something else. I just thought this was a really trappy race. There doesn't look to be a lot of pace on it either. Joseph O'Brien's Raise You could get a bit of a freebie out in front, but on jockey bookings, he looks potentially the third choice of the O'Brien lot. So that's off-putting. If Shane Cross was riding him, or maybe Declan McDonough or one of the bigger jockeys associated with the yard, I would be interested. I'm just wondering, he's been off for 48 days. Did he maybe have a little setback? But he has gone well fresh. So if the market potentially speaks for Raise You, he's going to need to improve to win this again. But he could be a very good bet to back and running, because I think he could get his own way up in front. He was very impressive the day he won at the Curragh at the start of the season. That was the same day the Gladness Stakes when Lancaster Bomber won, and he actually clocked the same 3-furlong sectional as Lancaster Bomber did for coming home. So he's got a bit of class and a bit of gears, this horse. So if they leave him out in front, he could get dangerous. But like I said, I'm just worried about the jockey bookings. Just see what the market says. He's been off for a little while as well. Maybe had a little setback, but if there's market and confidence in him, I do think he's overpriced.
That's Raise You for Joseph O'Brien. I do like the other Joseph O'Brien, the sort of second on jockey bookings, if you like, with blinkers on for the first time, Southern Lights with Declan McDonough on board. He definitely shaped better than the bare result in behind Bolshoi Ballet a couple of starts ago, I thought. And then last time, I was half interested in him actually at the Derby, although didn't side with him. And it was just, he was last of 11. It was a bit of a throw-out run. I suppose I can't argue based on that form and the fact that he finished last time. He should be much shorter than 15.0. But equally, I think that's, it's an interesting enough price based upon a horse who I thought could turn out to be pretty smart this season. And I think he's also worth just bringing back in trip. So I'm going to chance Southern Lights. I think I don't think he's shown what he's capable of yet, and maybe blinkers will just help. Particularly given the finishing effort a couple of starts ago when he just ran into a bit of traffic. But I think there could be a bit more to come with him. He's one of a good few 3-year-olds in the race. Don, do you have a preference for a 3-year-old over an older horse in this, or do you not make any hard and fast rules about that in this race?
Well, it's interesting, Tom, because 3-year-olds, they were a bit out of fashion in this race for a few years, but they've won the last 2 renewals. And just looking at earlier on, in 2019, there were 7 runners, 3 4-year-olds and 4 3-year-olds, and the 3-year-olds finished first, second, third, and fourth. So I think the starting point is 3-year-olds. That said, the horse I'm most interested in is Thunder Kiss. I just worry a wee bit about her dropping back down in trip from 1.5 miles the last day. Like, she was very good the last day in winning the Cork Oaks or the Munster Oaks, and like she got a very good ride from Colin Keane that day. They went fast early on, and he took her out of the pace and just sat in behind. But even so, she quickened up well. She stayed on really well, and I think they were talking afterwards about maybe stepping her up in trip. So it's interesting she's back now to 10 furlongs, but she does have pace, and she's very progressive. The condition of the race don't suit her. She has to carry a Group 3 penalty, obviously, so she's not. That kind of negates her fillies allowance. So she's carrying 9 stone 11, which is not ideal. But I just think she's a progressive mare from whom there could be a fair bit more to come this season. I was kind of thinking maybe stepping up in trip. I think Shane Lyons said afterwards that they would step her up in trip, and they were looking forward to stepping her up in trip. But I think she's generally a progressive filly. And as Declan was saying, I think you can pick holes in a few of these. Njord ran very well the last day, I thought, in the Donegal Stakes when he finished second behind Kinross, who runs on Saturday as well. Donn Patrol, you'd think this trip should be sharp enough for him. Raise You, yeah, take Declan's point. He ran all over the track that day at the Curragh when he hampered about 7 horses in the process. But that said, he did show a lot of guts out the front to get home. He's probably going to have to improve, but as Declan was saying, he might have the race run to suit. And True Self, yeah, look, she's an unbelievable mare. Cadillac, Yeah, be interesting to see how he goes this season, because it is interesting that Shane Foley is choosing to ride him in front of Njord. Like Njord is kind of your solid horse. He's and he seems to be equally adept over all types of trips. So he's the solid one, and he ran well last time. So it is interesting that Shane Foley is choosing to ride Cadillac in front of him. So I mean, I think that's definitely a pointer in favour of Cadillac. But I think of all of them, Thunder Kiss might be the most interesting of them all.
Thunder Kiss for you, and another mare carrying 9 stone 11 for you, Adele, in the form of True Self.
Yeah, I've gone for the oldest one. I've thrown the 3-year-old stat out the window. I think because Don's already said you can find a few holes in a few of these. I've gone purely for one. I think that you're going to get a run for your money. She's very tough, and that was a solid performance in the Tattersalls Gold Cup Group 1. She was actually held up last that day, and it was heavy ground, and she did have quite a bit of ground to cover. It was a solid run in defeat. I think she's a little bit better when she's ridden more like midfield to rear rather than held up in last, when you've got to cover that much ground. And even though she does have form on heavy ground, I think she's a bit better under a bit more of a sounder surface. So in good heart, I think we could do a lot worse than having a small win bet on her.
Yeah, and she's relentless. Remember that form in Saudi? The way she went about it was unbelievable. Holly Doyle clearly gets on well with her, for all she's not on board on this occasion. And she's pretty well found in the market, is True Self. Let's move on to the best of the British action then. We've got 3 races for you. We'll start with a Chipchase at Newcastle. It's a good-looking sprint, this. This is the 220, and Diligent Harry is at the top of the betting, 4.5, sticking to the all-weather. Kuzam, 5.5. Tabdeed is 7.0. Good Effort, 9.0. Chill 9.0. 13.0, and bigger the rest. Rixie, coming straight back to you. Where are you looking?
Yeah, I'm looking at Diligent Harry. I'm hoping he can maybe make the breakthrough at this level, considering he was going to run in the Commonwealth Cup, and he was prominent in the market there. So I suppose in theory this is a step down in class for him. Obviously didn't run because of all the rain, and just his form with Rohan is working out really nicely. And I just think his last 2 starts at Lingfield, I think he's been winning at Lingfield, or running well at Lingfield, despite not liking the track. I think that track is pretty sharp for him. He looks like a horse who's got a massive stride. I think the straight track at Newcastle is probably tailor-made for him. A good stiff 6 as well, where he can use himself. And more importantly, with Good Effort in here, Highland Dress and Kuzam, it looks like it's going to be a strongly run race. I do think he's a little bit short at the betting at the moment, and I'd probably want a minimum maybe of 9-2 to bet him. There was racing at Newcastle yesterday, and a lot of the horses drawn high were coming to the fore, and it was quite a deep surface as well. He's drawn in 2, which could potentially be a little bit of a negative. I want a bigger price about him if I'm going to bet him. So I think 9-2 is maybe the cutoff. He probably will go. He will go bigger in running, to be fair, but I don't play in running. Just have a look and see how the track is riding at Newcastle today. Hopefully those drawn low aren't at a disadvantage. So yeah, I probably want at least 5.5 about him to have a bet, and that will do.
Yeah, you basically want a point bigger than he is currently. I'd take that about all my selections that I'm putting up. For just a point bigger would be lovely. But I'm singing from a similar hymn sheet, to be honest. I do like him. I think he's the most likely winner. But I sort of half hoped he wouldn't be clear fav, but that was obviously wishful thinking. Kuzam is a point bigger currently at 5.5. Diligent Harry's 4.5. Adele, Rixie's talked about the track there and where you might want to be drawn, how it's riding, the stiff 6 that is Newcastle. Any other thoughts on that? And you can expand on, I know you fancy Diligent Harry too.
Low draws have dominated this race for the last 3 years, all 2 especially. It was riding quite slow yesterday. It was quite humid, but I think we've had 10 mil of rain overnight last night, so it will ride a bit quicker, I'd say, today. And the forecast tomorrow is rain again. So yeah, I don't think it'll be as slow as what it was yesterday. I love Diligent Harry. I think he's a group performer in the making. I think he's still lightly raced. He's probably the most unexposed out of them all. I mean, Kuzam, second favourite, is he? And he's dropping back down to 6. I think with that horse, there's not many mile races around for him. So I presume they're trying him over 6 to see whether it just might open a few doors for him for the rest of the summer, because the mile races kind of come around like winter time, don't they, for him? I think they're on a bit of a learning curve with him. So Diligent Harry, I think, is the one to beat. I think he's been very progressive. I think he's unlucky not to have made it 4 out of 4 on the all-weather. He suits the all-weather so well. He's got quite a nice turn of foot as well to go with it. So Diligent Harry for me.
Diligent Harry for you. And just to expand on, because I can't quite hit the back button at 4.5 with Diligent Harry, I'm going to have a little bit win and place on Ainsdale, who I backed last time, who was beaten a neck by Liberty Beach. That was at 13.0. Oh, look, Haydock on heavy ground. I really don't know how concrete you can be about the form, but if you want to take it literally, then the horse has gone up to 105 as a result of that, and is progressing, and you have to be positive about the return to this trip, if nothing else, because the last win came over 6 furlongs. We don't know how he's going to handle the all-weather surface or the Tapeta, because he's never run on an all-weather surface before, so I'm not going to take that as a negative. And I just thought he'd been ever so slightly overlooked. I thought he was better than a 21.0 shot. So it would be win and place, probably 80-20 in favour of the place bet over the win bet, but I would have a bit on the win as well. Let's move on to the Criterion Stakes. This is the 3:15 at Newmarket, and Donn sat out the last race. We're not going to be coming to him for his thoughts on this one either, but we'll be for the Northumberland Plate. Goodness me, Kinross is 3.75. Mentioned Kinross already. Glorious Journey.
He hates those Brits, doesn't he? He won't give him the time of day.
That's it. Donn, any races you don't want to talk about? I'm not talking about that British rubbish, he said.
Where's Newcastle?
Love it. Do you know who Mike Ashley is, Donn?
Heard of him, all right.
Yeah, big Newcastle man. Where was I? Kinross 3.75, Glorious Journey 6.0, Lord of the Lodge 8.5, Motakayal 11.0, Royal Crusade 11.0, it's 12.0 and bigger the rest. Adele, where are you looking?
I can see why Kinross is favourite. He looked really good at Haydock when he won the John O'Gorn, and he actually looked a bit more of a different individual since he's been gelded. Like, he tightened up a little bit. So I still think there's a bit of progression to come out of him. But just for a place market, Duke of Hazard, who his last run over 7 furlongs, the last time he ran over 7 furlongs, he was second to Space Blues at Goodwood. He's been quite keen over a mile this season. And I think the step back down to 7 furlongs, I think, will suit, because he kind of just seems to be failing like the last furlong. So I'm kind of just going to play him at the place market. Kinross, I can see why he's favourite. I still think he's got a bit of progression in him since he's been gelded. But Duke of Hazard, I'm going to play at the place market. I think he'd be a big price.
Yeah, 13.0. We put up Duke of Hazard a few. We had him at Epsom. I think the ground went against him. So he's been popular on this podcast. Steve Jones is a fan of this horse, but 13.0 for Duke of Hazard. Would that be win and place, Adele?
Yeah, small win and a place. I think honestly, I think he's been crying out for a step back down to 7 furlongs.
Okay. Duke of Hazard for you, Rixie.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on Mokatal here. I think 11.0. He's massively overpriced. I think he could nearly be half that price, to be honest here. He's got good course and distance form. His career best effort came in the Bunbury Cup last year over this course and distance, and he really loves this place. I had him running to 110 that day when he won. I had Kinross running to 108 when he won at Haydock the last day, but Kinross has got to give him £3 as well. So then, in my opinion, on the ratings, the numbers don't add up. I think you've got 4 points, is it, or 4.8 versus 11.0. I think he's a cracking bet. So I'll be having a good win and place bet on him. I'd be very disappointed if he's out of the 3, to be honest. The race sets up very well for him. You've got Lord of the Lodge, Mums Tipple, Tinker Toy, the Learjet, all like to go forward. This is a horse he travels strongly and he thrives off a strong gallop. Looks like he's going to get it. You've got to forgive him a disappointing run at Ascot the last day behind River Nymph in the Victoria Cup. But I just think the ground was way too soft for him. I thought Jim Crowley gave him a bad ride as well. Didn't get him covered up at all, which is actually a bad habit Jim has been doing this year. He a lot of his horses, he doesn't want to get cover. I don't know why, these strong travelling types, and he's getting them out there, out in the elements, not getting cover. And, that's just, you need to be getting covers in these races. So I thought he actually shaped better than the distance beaten. He started this season very well at Thirst behind Toro Strike under a penalty. And, if he comes back to that type of form, and he's entitled to improve off it again over a course and distance that he loves, 11.0 is a very big price for me. So, I think he's, of all the races that we've covered, in my view, he's the most overpriced of all the horses.
Motakaya for Rixie. It's very positive about his chances. And I've got a filthy shout on Richard Hannon's other horse, Mums Tipple. That really is just it's disgusting, isn't it? I can just, at the prices at 17.0, I can see him outrunning those odds. And I've been, again, every time somebody, I think Jonesy put him up in a podcast earlier on in the year, and I thought it was a horrible shout. He had to give a lot of weight away last time in the Cathedral Stakes, and he was 4.5, ran appallingly, lugged left for most of it, probably was a bit wide, and it was just, it was what Mums Tipple can do. But equally at Wolves, he showed what he could do when he beat Lord of the Lodge very comfortably and looked back to his best. 6 at Lingfield on his first start looked a little sharp for him, and then he went over 7 and 1. Didn't stay at Lingfield over the mile, and then I think a Leicester 7 probably just caught him out a bit against Pogo. But I think this track could just play to his strengths. I know there are other bits of pace on, but I don't think you want to be too far back. And for all he ran, really, he was very disappointing at Leicester last time on quick ground. I think he does want quick ground to be, at Salisbury. I think he does want quick ground to be seen at his best. I'll just give him another chance. He's the sort of horse I only ever want to back at big prices, but there's no doubt that this is the sort of trip that he wants. So I'll have a small win bet and a slightly larger place bet on Mums Tipple. Let's move on to the easiest race of the day to solve, the Northumberland Plate. Rather than read out prices, I'll give you the prices when your selection or selections go up. Don, you know where Newcastle is now. Who'd you like?
Northumberland Plate home. Yeah,
home of the Northumberland Plate. That's it. Yeah. Who do you like in this? How many
Don's
you got?
even done his hair like Paul Gascoigne today. Fair play.
Yeah.
Like it.
Although sadly, for anyone listening on the podcast, Don doesn't have those grey horses coming right out the top of his head today. So they do look like horses as opposed to a fascinator. Go on, Don.
Wow, all of that. The thing about the Northumberland Plate is it happens on Irish Derby Day every year, nearly every year. So it's always one that you're kind of keeping an eye on from the Curragh. But look, Trushan, his favourite, he missed the Gold Cup and comes on here carrying top weight. So fair enough. He's a classy horse. His run at Chester the last day behind Japan was a big run over a trip short of his best. Probably on ground suited him. But it is a big ass carrying 10 stone 4 in a Northumberland Plate. Australis is back. He ran very well in the race last year. But Dubious Affair, I think she is probably the most interesting horse in it. Her run the last day at Ascot was very, very good. She was in behind. She was the only one who was able to get into the race from the rear. She stayed on really well. She was only beaten ahead by Amtiaz, and Amtiaz race handling Global Stormer was third race handling. Arthurian Fable wasn't too far behind. Saldia, even who was fifth, wasn't too far back. She finished off her race really well and was a little bit unlucky, I thought, not to get there. I think the handicapper gave her £4 for that, so she's up to 104, but she races off her old mark, so she's automatically a well-handicapped horse. She's £4 well in. As well as that was her first run of the season, so there's every chance that she'll progress. And She seemed to progress last year for when Charlie Fellows got her and then stepped her up in trips. So she went from 1.2 miles, 1.5 miles with Sir Michael Stout up to staying trips. She ran a big race last year at Doncaster in the Park Hill. She wasn't beaten that far by Pista, and it just looks like she's improved again. The worry is that it's only 11 days since the run at Royal Ascot, and coming back off a long break, her seasonal debut, it's not that long a time for her to turn around, especially having raced over 1.6 miles at Royal Ascot. So that's a bit of a worry. But I just think at the price, given that she's a well-handicapped horse anyway on the figures, and the fact that she is progressive and looks like she could improve again for a step up to 2 miles, I think she's got lots in her favour.
That's 7.5 for Dubious Affair. Adele, who are you looking at in the plate?
I've gone against Trushan. It's a big ask, isn't it, off 10-4? I know Reese is claims 5, doesn't he? He's picked up a nice ride, though. Nice spare for him to get. I'm going to go for a couple of horses that I don't think have done a lot wrong. Roginski's one of them to play at the place market. He's not done a lot wrong at all this year. He's got good all-weather form. He won at Ripon this season over 2 miles. He stays all day long. Second to Frank Stella at Haydock, and he was giving them, I think, nearly a stone. So, again, hasn't done a lot wrong, and he always seems to run a solid race. And at the price as he is, I'm going to have a little place bet on him. And then Mildenberg is another one who goes well on the all-weather, and he didn't run down at Ascot. And I think when I was having a look back through to see, the horses that had ran at Ascot who then went and tried to follow up, didn't do so well. I think you want to be looking for a horse that's probably been kept fresher for the race. But he's another one. He loves the all-weather. He had Rainbow Dreamer, Cosmelli behind him at Wolverhampton in January. Mark Johnson, he does well with these stayers anyway, doesn't he? I like them too, both for a place market.
I am going to follow you in with Mildenberger, if you don't mind. I thought, actually, let me confirm those prices for you first of all. Mildenberger is 13.0 and Roginski 17.0. Mildenberger, who hasn't run since that run out in Saudi, which was okay, does go quite well fresh, the horse. One of those runs came fresh last year here in the rearranged Sagaro Stakes at Newcastle. And on that form, you'd say where he split Prince of Arran and Naef Road, he was rated 111 there. He rocks up here off the same mark, but into a handicap. You'd say he could still be a fairly treated horse. He's won on to Peter. I thought the run here behind Island in December, when behind Island Brave and sent off favourite that day, he was up in the van and then he dropped back a bit and then kept on. I just wonder actually if this sort of race, that was only 9 runners, a bigger field handicap might suit. I mean, Mark Johnson's probably going to crowd the front end, but I thought at 13.0 he was a bit overlooked. And the other one is one of the Mark Johnson outsiders, which is Lucky Deal, who's a massive price. Andrew Bresnan gets on really, really well with the horse. The angle here is just a return to the all-weather. He seems to be a better horse. 5 from 12 on the all-weather, 3 from 20 on the turf. His last all-weather start, he was out of handicap company, but still being competitive. His last start in an all-weather handicap, he'd run well at Wolves. When probably just found out in a good race off a mark of 101. He shows up here off a mark of 100, and he's won at the track before, and I thought he was just a bit overlooked. I thought he could have it run to suit, and I like him coming back onto a synthetic surface for Lucky Deal. Rixie, who do you like?
I'm with the same form line as Donn, but I'm with a different horse. Donn's horse, obviously, Dubious Affair, ran in the Copper Horse Stakes at Royal Ascot, but I'm actually with a horse who's going to be £3 better off with Dubious Affair, but is a much bigger price, and that's Galata Bridge of Dr. Richard Newlands. He's a really interesting horse, this fella. He's by Golden Horn, whose progeny are tending to stay very well and maybe need just a little bit of time, but he's out of Infallible, who is a very good mare for Cheveley Park, and he's from a very good family. He's got a Group 1 pedigree, this horse, and I'm surprised Cheveley Park moved him on so quick as a 3-year-old. He was picked up at the sales by his new connections for 75,000 guineas. Maybe he had some issues that we didn't know about. But Jesus, his run last time at Royal Ascot was seriously impressive. He was a front runner. He jumped well. He got into stride well. And Jesus, this horse ran like he was having the time of his life. He just looked in such good form with himself. You know, he was actually probably in too good a form because he went such a gallop. He set it up for the rest of the field. He really did set it up for closers. And I thought for him to stick around and only be beaten just over 3 lengths was a seriously impressive run now. As I said, he's £3 better off with Dubious Affair. He's a much bigger price. And just looking at the pace of the race, I'm not sure there's a couple of Johnson horses in here, but they're kind of sit and sprint types, you know, who like to front run, but not front run at a strong gallop. And Galata Bridge, you know, he could potentially get an easy lead here now. He's going to need a very good ride from Luke Morris just to get him back and settled, because he's going up in trip. If he runs as keen as he did at Ascot, you know, he's probably not going to get it home, stepping up to 2 miles for the first time. But if Luke Morris can just get him into a nice rhythm, I think you might be able to get out in running for one if you want. So what price did you say he was actually, Tom? Sorry. Oh, you're muted, mate.
21.0.
21.0. Like, that's, you know, I just don't get why he's 20.0 and Dubious Affair is about 7.0, whatever she is. It just doesn't really make sense to me.
It's because Donn McClean fancies Dubious Affair, so the bookies are they're worried, so they've shortened her up.
I'm silly, mate. I should have known that, shouldn't I?
And they're like, that Rixie clown fancies the other one. Push that out.
That's literally how it's gone, actually. Yeah, and to be fair, that's a perfectly sound case by the bookmakers. But every dog has his day, and I am a dog, and sometimes I have my day. So I'm hoping I'll have it tomorrow. Look, he's a big price. He's going to need a good ride. He's going to need to settle. But he's got a Group 1 pedigree. He's got all-weather form at Kempton. And if he can just settle it and sit and turn this into a bit of a sprint match, he'll definitely outrun that price. So as Donn suggested, it's a bit of a worry backing up so quickly from Royal Ascot off a tough race. But Jesus, he went through that race at Royal Ascot like he was in great form, and he's been backed up quickly by his trainer. So hopefully he'll run well. He's definitely overpriced. And if you're not too sure about him staying, or if he runs keen, I'm sure he'll go much shorter than 20.0 in the run.
Split stakes, win and place, Rixie?
Win and place, and potentially getting out a little bit in the win, just to get your stake back at least and have a free bet.
That's thoughts on the Northumberland plate then. Some big prices going up there. Dubious Affair for Donn, Galata Bridge for Rixie, Vajinski Miltenberger for Adele, and I'm with Miltenberger and Lucky Deal in that. We move on to Sunday and the Pretty Polly. 2 races we're going to do from Sunday. Pretty Polly in the Curragh Cup. 340 at the Curragh is the Pretty Polly. And Santa Barbara. Good old Santa Barbara. She hasn't won this season, but she shaped a lot of markets. Is at the head of the betting. Santa Barbara is currently 3.25. KM Pepper 4.33. Thundering Knights is 5.0. Epona Plays 6.5. And then we're into the double figures. Donn, frame this race. Well, the race is framed around Santa Barbara. You with her or against?
I'm against her again, Tom. I mean, she's just such a fashionable horse, and obviously she's talented, and you can easily allow her to run in the Oaks on very soft ground. She ran well in the Guineas for a filly who was making a racecourse debut, for all that she was a beaten favourite or a beaten joint favourite, and given the hype that was around it beforehand, she was fully expected to go and win. But take the market moves out, and it was a very good run by her to finish as close as she did in the Guineas, and then allow her Oaks run on soft ground. So look, you can see why she's fashionable or fancied. She'll probably go off as favourite again. But yeah, I just think that on form, you have to allow her to take whatever percentage of the market she's taking out and look beyond her. And yeah, Cayenne Pepper is a filly that I like. I've liked her all last season. Her performance in the Blandford Stakes over this course and distance and Champions Weekend last year was very, very good. And she'd been shaping for a while as if she could put up a performance like that. Like, she was beaten in the Irish Oaks by Even So. And then in the Munster Oaks at Cork, she was beaten by Tarnawa, and she wasn't beaten for, sorry, not the Munster Oaks, the Give Thanks Stakes, but she, like Tarnawa went on and was a revelation really towards the end of the season. And then to go and win the Blanford Stakes like she did. Like, she was always a filly last year. It took her a little while to get going. She was one of the Jessica Harrington horses who just wasn't as forward as they wanted her at the start of the season, and it took her a while to move into the season. And it looks like that might be the way this year again. She was pretty well beaten last time in the Telus Gold Cup, but it was the first run of the year. It was on very soft ground, so you can expect that she'd come on from that. Interesting that Willie McCurry is running both Epona Plays and Insinuendo. Epona Plays was a bit of a revelation really when she won the Ridgewood Pearl last time. And that was a Group 2 race, so it looked like the Pretty Polly was the obvious race for her. She's deserving of a chance in a Group 1 race. And Insinuendo was a bit of a surprise winner of the Blue Wind Stakes last time. She's a likely race filly. That was just her third ever run, so she could improve again. I'd say if the rains come, that will probably help Epona Plays, because she does seem to like to get her toe in her last two, or Group 3 win and a Group 2 win, have both been on soft ground. But look, she's fully entitled to take her chance. I just think that Cayenne Pepper, she might be a classier filly. Like, she just on genuinely good ground. I think there's more to come from her. She was progressive last year as a 3-year-old, and I think she can improve again this year as a 4-year-old. And 10 furlongs looks to be her optimum trip. A mile is a wee bit on the sharp side. A mile and a half seems to just stretch her a wee bit. So I think 10 furlongs is her trip.
Cayenne Pepper 4.33 for you against Santa Barbara at the top of the betting. Adele?
I like Epona Plays. I like her attitude. She might maybe lack a little bit of class compared to Santa Barbara, but she makes up for it with her attitude. She was very impressive last time. What I like most about her is that she just seems to be able to find a really nice rhythm. Billy Lee gets on with her really well. I know she hasn't won over a mile too, but she was only beaten a short head last year. She's definitely strengthened up, I think, over the winter, and she seems a much more improved filly this year. So I like her at the market. I think I'd have a nice little win bet on her. She's clearly in good heart.
And she's 6.5 as well as Epona Plays. She's had some season and has won the last two, including that Group 2 here last time under Billy Lee. Epona Plays. Rixie, for you?
It's just going to be Thunder Knights for me ahead of Santa Barbara. Look, this is probably the most realistic test Santa Barbara has had all season, to be fair. You know, she didn't have a run going into the Guineas. Very quick round, big step up in class, and she ran very well. And then, you know, the Oaks, although she was well beaten in the end, I thought there were positives. She raced a lot more professionally. Her mouth wasn't open like it was at Newmarket. She travelled into the race well, and she looked a big danger early in the straight. But I think a couple of things. I think the ground was too soft for her to pick up in. And then later in the race, stamina clearly became an issue and she didn't stay. So, look, she's going to get back onto quicker ground at a more suitable trip. And, you know, looking at her pedigree, this is probably the trip that is, you know, this is her trip. So I think if she doesn't win now on Sunday, you know, it's, you know, all the chat about her work is going to be quickly forgotten. But look, at the prices I thought I had Thundering Night running to 107 on her seasonal debut behind Broome, and I had Santa Barbara running to 107 in the Guineas this year. But one, I think they're the two top-rated fillies in the race on my figures. But you know, Thundering Night is 5.0, I think, and Santa Barbara is a shorter price. So just at the prices, I'll put up Thundering Night. She looks an improved filly this year. Daughter Night of Thunder got a good pedigree. She started her season in the Alleged Stakes at the Curragh behind Broome, and she was given she raced off level weights that day with Broome. She had to carry a penalty, and I just thought she returned in such good heart. She did everything nicely, travelled into the race beautifully, picked up well, but Broome, you know, as his odds of 1-2 suggested, he picked up late and just knotted her. I thought that was a superb comeback run. If you took Broome out of the race, you know, she's hammered the rest of the field on the bit going to the furlong pole. She then went to America to run at Belmont in the New York Stakes, and she was very unlucky. She got trapped a little bit wide in the early part of the race. The winner was the front runner, who I think got a bit of an easy lead, and she who had very good American gate speed. And I just think she got an easy lead, and Johnny Velasquez sat too far off the pace. But to be fair to her, Thunder Knight, she knuckled down late and she ran on, and within another stride, she probably would have won. That's the only issue. She's had to travel back from America 3 weeks ago, and she's running again now. But look, if they're running her, you hope that she's in decent nick. And just same again from Shane Cross, bounce her out, sit her second or third there. She clearly loves the Curragh. A lot of her best runs have come here. A progressive filly. So I think just at the prices, I'm hoping she can get the better of Santa Barbara.
Thundering Knights 5.0. I'm going to go for another O'Brien horse, and it's another big price. I feel like I'm putting up a few big prices here and not committing to anything at the front of the market. But I do think Shale may well outrun 21.0. She is a Group 1 winner from the Moyglare last year, and her worst performances have come on soft ground. So maybe that was why the Ascot performance was disappointing. For all she was supported, she was absent, didn't take in any classics off the back of her reappearance. Look, maybe she hasn't trained on, but I think that this trip on good ground, and hopefully it stays good, may just be what she wants. And I was a bit flabbergasted to see her as outsider of the bunch, to be completely honest. So it's very much a value selection. Again, probably 80-20 in favour of a bet in the place market. Right. Couple of minutes, we're going to get the Curragh Cup done. Now, we've got no real market formed as yet, so it's not easy. And I know Adele and I don't have any strong opinions on this as is. Donn, how does the race shape up, if you can, in a minute or so?
Yeah, it's a tricky race, Tom, I think. Pondus is what I come down on in the end. I don't know what way they're going to bet, but I thought he ran very well the last day. He just kind of came with his run, and he was out-battled by Shandro. I think he might be a horse who's better over 1.5 miles than over 1.6 miles, so that's a little bit of a worry. But it was a good run the last day, and look, he was well beaten in the Ebor last year when he was fairly well fancied. But that was his first run at York, and I'm always happy to allow a horse a poor run at York. He was progressive before that. I thought his run the last day was a fair step forward from his debut this season in the Alleged Stakes when he was well beaten by Broome. But he's a horse that I think there could be more to come from. I know he's 5 now, but Just for Brian only hasn't was from last season. He got him from James Fanshawe, and his run even in Australia when he was only beaten by True Self in that Group 3 handicap, that was a good run. So yeah, I just think he's a horse from whom there could be a wee bit more to come this season. Maybe over 1.5 miles, but I think over 1.6 miles at the Curragh. Maybe if he's ridden a wee bit more patiently, then that could help him. Aran Levine was disappointing in the Gold Cup. He was well beaten, and it was probably even more disappointing that he was beaten in the Saddlebag Stakes before that. So he's got to bounce back. Passion, she's making her seasonal debut, and it's interesting that Ryan Moore is riding her in front of Aran Levine. So she's the pick of the Aidan O'Brien horses, and she might be sent off as favourite. But I think Pondus could come forward from his run the last day.
Pondus for you in the Lloyd Williams colours. Rixie, do you have anything here?
No, I'm going to sit this one out. This looks a little trappy, too trappy for me to have a bet. But yeah, probably Pondus would be probably top of the list, to be fair, with a run under his belt. But no, I'm going to sit this one out.
I was all over Pondus at York. I thought it was a great shout. Finished 20 or 21.
Yeah.
So wasn't dead last. Right, so a Pondus shout in the Curragh Cup. But again, not a well-formed market as things stand at the moment. So the rest of us are ducking for cover on the Curragh Cup. Best bets, weekend best bets then. Can come from anything we've discussed or not. Adele Mulrennan, what is your best bet this weekend?
Best bet is going to be Diligent Harry in the Chipchase, I think. Yeah, I like him. I think he's a proper group horse that in the making. Him.
Diligent Harry for you. Rixie, your best bet?
I'm going to go with Mocketal at Newmarket in the Criterion Stakes.
Had to be after talking the horse up earlier on. Donn, your best bet?
Dubious Affair in the Northumberland Plate, each way.
Dubious Affair in the plate. Big shout. I'm going to go for...
Given he hates Newcastle, it's a surprise he's gone there.
Unbelievable.
Now that I know where it is.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Mojo Star in the Irish Derby. I think the horse should be a couple of points shorter. There we go. Thanks very much indeed, Adele, Donn, Declan, for all your thoughts. You can get the updated thoughts on insights for all the selections there. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.